Some people reach a certain age and realize something that's hard to say out loud. They've lived as several different people, not moods, not phases, actual versions with different values, different limits, different ways of showing up in a room. Each one made sense at the time. Each one felt convincing enough to live inside, and then somehow it expired. If you've ever looked back and felt surprised by how completely you outgrew a former version of yourself, this video is about that pattern, not as a flaw, but as a response. At the surface, this behavior looks like instability. Someone changes careers, changes personalities, changes priorities, stops relating to people the same way they used to. Others might describe them as inconsistent, restless, or unsure of who they are. But what actually triggers most identity shifts isn't confusion, it's friction. A version of you stops producing the outcomes it once did. The way you communicate starts creating tension. Your usual traits stop being rewarded. The role you occupied no longer fits what's expected. Staying the same begins to cost energy, so you change how you operate. You test different ways of speaking. You limit certain reactions. You lean harder into traits that seem to land better in this environment. This isn't reinvention, it's calibration. Many people learn early that identity isn't neutral. Certain traits bring approval, others bring pushback. Some invite connection, others attract scrutiny. The brain links who you are with what happens next. That's where the pattern forms. One version becomes quieter because expressing too much caused problems. Another becomes assertive because being passive led nowhere. Another becomes emotionally distant because closeness started feeling risky. Each version solves a problem that existed at the time. And when the environment changes, the solution becomes obsolete. New place, new expectations, new pressure points. So the system updates again. This is why people who change often aren't reckless. They're attentive. They notice what lowers tension in a room. They notice which traits keep interactions smooth. They notice which versions attract fewer consequences. Then they reorganize themselves around those signals, over and over. The long-term effect of this isn't confusion, it's detachment. After enough shifts, none of the versions feel permanent. Each one worked until conditions changed. Each one had a shelf life. So questions like, "Who are you really?" start to feel oddly shaped, not threatening, just incomplete. This pattern also affects relationships. People close to you may feel like they're meeting different versions over time. Some may miss earlier traits you no longer rely on. Others may never fully know which version will last. And internally, there's exhaustion. Letting go of identities that once kept things stable. Relearning how to operate in each new context. Staying alert for signs that it's time to shift again. This isn't dramatic identity crisis territory. It's quiet, ongoing self-management. For many people, the changes slow down later. Not because they finally discover a true self, but because they land in environments that don't demand constant adjustment. Where expectations stay consistent. Where the same version doesn't carry penalties. Where identity isn't constantly evaluated. Until then, frequent change isn't evidence of emptiness. It's evidence of experience. A record of places where awareness mattered. Where flexibility prevented harm. Where staying the same would have made things harder. If you've been many versions of yourself, it doesn't mean you lack depth. It means you learned early that context shapes outcomes. And noticing that pattern, without rushing to fix it, is often the first time the system doesn't need to adapt at all. If this connected, you can share your experience in the comments. And if this kind of psychology fits how you think, you know where the subscribe button is.